Ngamera la mogela ke kopa mongwe a re beya pele ga Ramasedi ka thapelo mongwe a mo ithaopiela.
Arabelen modimo mata o therra ka Jesu Kriste re tamo pela ga setiro sa go sa bogosi mo nakong eno kgosi ya kgalelo go leboga re go lebogela ra tshegoa tswa botshelo maatano tse re na le tsone e se ka bothale ja rona e le ka ntlha le ratolo mo utolo go thoko wa gago Jehova mme re ke mo kgosi ya kgalelo re tswelang re ta gapela ga gago ra le mo nakong e Jehova ra jaaka re kgonne go tsena ha modimo wa rona ra entse se ka bothale ja rona re a go lopa kgosi ya kgalelo gore o re etelle pele mo go tswethetse re di dirang ga go tsisa kgalelo go wena modimo wa rona ka Kriste Jesu mo lokile morena a rona ra lopa amen.
Morning once again and welcome to the Standing Committee on Statutory Bodies and State Enterprises. My name is Honorable Arafat Kitsokat. I'm the Member of Parliament for Mulepoland North. I'm also the chairperson of this committee. I will now ask all other members of this committee to introduce themselves.
Morning, Chairman.
Mr. Chair. Kamaina ki video go te tlhabologo furniture ke leloko la committee yone ke parliamenta ko tatio botlhaba.
Dumelang ke bidiwa ga efele Sedombo ke mo parlamente wa Tonota.
A very good morning to you all. Kibidwa Umpimitsu Kopa, the Member of Parliament for Johnny Mabutsane. I'm also a member of this committee. Thank you.
And members in this house, my names are Jeremiah Jerry Franzel, Member of Parliament for Shasha West. I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Kibidwa Karabahari, Member of Parliament for Mushupa Manyana, member of this committee.
Dumelang Bagaruna, Kibidwa Gabriel Malebang. I'm the Clerk of the National Assembly and the First Secretary for the committee.
Good morning, Bagaruna, Kibidwa Ramang Libele. I'm the Technical Advisor to the committee. Thank you.
Dumelang Beso, Kibidwa Samuel Diani from the Office of Accountant General.
Good morning, Kibidwa Tapapiwa Mutsumi from the Office of the Attorney General.
Morning, Kibidwa Patsimo Muipei from the Office of the Parliamentary Council.
Good morning, Kibidwa Chris Mfila, Director, Parliamentary Services, Kili Mukwaledi wa Bobedi wa Committee.
Dumelang, Kibidwa Wamembeha. I'm the Deputy Director, Parliamentary Services Department. Thank you.
I now invite the BNPC representative to introduce themselves before they take the oath.
Good morning, honorable members and everybody. My name is Matlo Jennifer Sitiro. I'm the Acting Executive Director of the Botswana National Productivity Center.
Good morning, honorable members and everyone. My name is Babu Yasakwalami Siku. I'm the Head of Finance for Botswana National Productivity Center.
Good morning, honorable members. My name is Zelda Okach. I am the General Manager of BNPC. Acting, sorry.
Good morning. My name is Umpemetsi Chimbombi, Internal Auditor, BNPC.
Ba go morago ga se Abatele lona.
Good morning, everyone. I am Habibelo Musabani. I work for BNPC. Good morning. I'm Andrew Mokatani. I work in the town office.
Good morning. My name is Naledi Mhale. I work at BNPC.
Thank you. I'll now proceed to administrate the oath. The first three At this juncture, let me remind witnesses that proceedings are held under oath. We have been summoned to give evidence before this Parliamentary Committee on Statutory Bodies and State Enterprises. The evidence you will give before this committee will be on oath or affirmation, and it must be truthful in terms of the oath or affirmation you shall take before the giving of your evidence. You have the option to swear to oath on the Bible, or you may opt to make an affirmation. Kindly indicate the option you are electing.
Bible.
Okay, you may rise. Right. Wait.
The left on the Bible, the right one in.
Please repeat after me.
Yes, sir.
I
Matlo Jennifer Sitiro,
do hereby swear that
do hereby swear that
the evidence I shall give before this committee
the evidence I shall give before this committee
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and
nothing else but the truth.
and nothing else but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
I,
your name,
Babu Yasakolami Siku,
do hereby swear that
do hereby swear that
the evidence I shall give before this committee
the evidence I shall give before this committee
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and
nothing else but the truth.
and nothing else but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. I
Zelda Achemo Cash,
do hereby swear that
do hereby swear that
the evidence I shall give before this committee
the evidence that I shall give before this committee
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing else but the truth.
and nothing else but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I
Ompemetsi Chimbombi,
do hereby swear that
do hereby swear that
the evidence I shall give before this committee
the evidence I shall give before this committee
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and
nothing else but the truth.
and nothing else but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Gore ha gore ha ntse re tsweletse go tla tlhoka gore bangwe ba ko morago ba nthuse kana ba arabe sengwe le bone re taba tseisa vote. On behalf of the Statutory Bodies Committee, I welcome you to this committee. Your attendance is highly appreciated. Please note that the examination is part of our parliamentary oversight responsibility. As a result, we welcome your cooperation and thoughtful responses to members of this committee. I'm now going to invite the accounting officer to make a presentation. Please limit the presentation to key issues and highlights on the mandate, financial performance, governance, auditors' reports, BAWA, PPRA, and other regulators' reports. I'm only going to give you 15 minutes to do your presentation. From there, I will be giving it back to the members of committee to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As I mentioned, my name is Matlo Jennifer Sitiro, and I'm the Acting Executive Director at the Botswana National Productivity Center, otherwise known as BNPC. I've been working in this capacity since mid-August 2025. BNPC has operated within a persistently unstable business environment characterized by recurring and unresolved institutional reforms. Between 2015 and 2018, the Center initiated organizational restructuring followed by a proposed transformation in 2019. Both initiatives were subsequently halted pending a decision on the merger of the organization. This uncertainty continued during the reporting period following the announcement in March 2022 of another proposed merger with the Institute of Development Management and the Public Service College. While intended to enhance institutional alignment and long-term effectiveness, delays in implementation have prolonged operational, organizational uncertainty, which has adversely affected strategic planning, decision-making, and overall performance. These constraints were further compounded by governance gaps. The tenure of the BNPC board from 2021 to 23 concluded in March 2023, after which the center operated without a board for 3 months. A new board was subsequently appointed, with its tenure ending in June 2024. There has been no board since then. This has resulted in the absence of a formal governance and oversight structure to guide the organization, significantly constraining oversight approval. Furthermore, in June 2024, the then executive director of BNPC's contract ended, and we have had no executive director until I was appointed in mid-August 2025. The center is experiencing significant staffing constraints with a 69% vacancy rate at managerial level. Out of the 13 managers, only 4 are substantive. Everybody else is acting. Further down in the organization, we have 35% vacancies, resulting in substantial gaps in leadership and capacity and operational support. Collectively, these factors have led to a recruitment freeze, leadership instability, and reduced organizational capacity, ultimately impacting performance, service delivery. Notwithstanding, the center continues to deliver impact on its mandate. I will then talk to the mandate. BNPC was established under an act in 1993 and formally opened in 1995-96. The center is governed by a tripartite board comprising representatives from government, workers, and business. This reflects its role in fostering collaboration on productivity and competitiveness. The core of the mandate is to stimulate and generate productivity consciousness in Botswana, enhance standards of business management, foster sound labor management relations, and establish linkages with regional and international productivity institutions. Collectively, these functions position BNPC as the key national institution responsible for driving productivity improvement at enterprise, sectoral, and national levels. I will now talk to performance. The center, over the performing period, the center had a strategy which ran from 2020 to 2023 and was subsequently extended to 2026, ending in March this year. Over that period, we also had a shareholder compact in place, which has been submitted to you, whose evaluation has been submitted. The strategy was anchored on 4 pillars, being the customer perspective, financial operations, innovation, and learning and growth perspective. Overall, BNPC recorded moderate performance with notable achievements in program delivery, stakeholder engagement, financial discipline. Key interventions were successfully implemented across priority areas, including enterprise productivity improvement, leadership development, and national policy support, as well as CSI. The Centre is actively engaged in supporting the process of BETP, having participated in the labs. We have also worked with the supply development programs of the UNDP, have supported companies under the manufacturing sector, and also SMEs under LAYER. Under the operations and innovation perspective, progress was made in leading national productivity agenda, strengthening research and innovation, and implementing targeted program management initiatives. These included collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture in the review of ISPAD. In addition, the Centre undertook agricultural sector productivity research, manufacturing research, and generated evidence-based recommendations to improve decision-making. Financially, the Centre demonstrated improved financial discipline through cost containment and expenditure control, despite declining government subvention and revenue volatility. Efforts to diversify revenue streams shows progress, although financial sustainability remains constrained. In the learning and growth perspective, the Centre made progress in fostering a productivity-oriented culture and delivering leadership development interventions, particularly at the Ministry of Local Government. However, performance in this area was significantly affected by high vacancy levels, leadership instability, and limited investment in long-term training programs. Notwithstanding these achievements, overall performance was constrained by structural challenges, including absence of a fully constituted board, prolonged measure process and a recruitment freeze, limited coordination authority, and declining financial resources. These factors affected leadership continuity, organizational capacity, and the Centre's ability to fully execute its objectives. For our employees, during this period, it has been a tumultuous time. The combination of these factors resulted in an employee engagement level of 32% in 2022. Notwithstanding these challenges, we implemented a range of initiatives to support employee well-being and strengthen engagement, including psychosocial support. While these interventions demonstrate a commitment to workforce stability, sustained improvement in engagement will depend on addressing underlying structural constraints, particularly leadership and stability of staffing. Community engagement, the report was submitted to yourself. Prior to 2024, there was no policy directing the coordination of productivity or competitiveness in Botswana. However, the National Assembly approved the productivity and competitiveness policy in the last sitting in July last year. This will provide a policy framework and coordination of stakeholders to implement productivity. Financial snapshot. BNPC's financial performance over the 2021 to 2025 period reflects an institution operating under sustained fiscal pressure, primarily driven by declining government subvention, variability in internally generated revenue. The total income declined from 38 million in 2021 to 35 million in 2024, while expenditure also reduced from 43 million to 37 million over the same period. Despite these constraints, the Centre has demonstrated improved financial discipline, with deficits narrowing from 6.7 million in 2021 to 1.4 million in 2025. I will talk to a few achievements that we have had in spite of the challenges. As I mentioned, we worked on the supply development programs of the UNDP. We actively support Botswana Exporters and Manufacturers Association by working with our members. We work with LAYER to improve productivity of the SMEs, and we have worked extensively with the Department of Tourism in providing training and research in the key areas affecting the sector. I will go back to finding constraints. The Centre continues to operate under tightening fiscal conditions, primarily driven by declining government subvention and a variability in internally generated revenue. While government grant remains the primary source of funding, in-year downward revisions to internally committed funding have introduced uncertainty in budget execution, disrupting planned activities and necessitating mid-year reprioritization. This directly affects the Centre's ability to deliver on this mandate. The last funding of a development project for BNPC was in 2020. The strategy that was approved in 2020 was not funded. We funded from our own funds. Internally generated revenue remains uneven, constrained, influenced by external economic conditions, reduced demand for services, and policy factors such as moratoriums. A recent market research undertaken by BNPC has strengthened the understanding of market share and development of more industry-relevant programs, enhancing alignment to national priorities. While efforts to diversify revenue streams, particularly accommodation and conferencing, are underway, current returns remain insufficient to offset declining public funding. Productivity is a merit good, similar to education, health, and it generates widespread national benefits that individual firms and maybe unwilling corporates are unwilling to invest in, thereby justifying government funding. It is safe to say that a different funding and operating model for the center is necessary. I wish to reiterate that BNPC is not a commercial SOE. It was not set up to generate profit. However, we do charge for our services. The absence of a fully constituted board has significantly weakened government and oversight, limiting effective supervision of risk management, internal controls, and organizational performance, and resulting in delayed implementation of audit recommendations and increased compliance risk. Decision-making has been constrained, with delays in key areas disrupting procurement processes, policy reviews, and project implementation, thereby reducing the center's responsiveness to emerging priorities. At the managerial level, this has led to over-centralization of authority, executive overload, and inconsistent strategic direction, as well as loss of institutional knowledge due to non-renewal of contracts. Human capital challenges have been exacerbated by the inability to recruit or appoint acting appointments, increasing work pressures, reducing productivity, and heightening risks related to staff fatigue, morale, and segregation of duties. Collectively, these constraints have adversely affected program implementation, delayed organizational reforms, and weakened stakeholder confidence, and undermined the center's overall effectiveness, resilience, and long-term stability. BNPC has a limited area of intervention. Given the multi-sectoral nature of productivity, effective outcomes require coordinated action across government, the private sector, and key stakeholders. However, the center currently lacks statutory authority to coordinate, hold stakeholders accountable for productivity, or implement any standards that we may develop. As a result, efforts remain fragmented with limited alignment and follow-through across institutions. In practice, BNPC is largely limited to advocacy and stakeholder engagement or lobbying, or otherwise known as training as well. But BNPC is not a training institution. This has direct implications on productivity performance, as the absence of enforceable mechanisms weaken implementation of productivity initiatives and the achievement of sustained economy-wide productivity gains. However, the newly adopted policy will address some of these challenges. Collectively, these factors have constrained the center's ability to effectively deliver on the mandate, with risks of further declines in performance, talent loss, and reduced organizational resilience. In terms of capacity building, limited financial resources and organizational constraints, such as uncertainties around the looming measure, during the reporting period have significantly led to reduced investment in long-term capacity development initiatives. While short-term ad hoc training programs were implemented, the center has not been able to undertake structured long-term training, development, and interventions critical for building sustainable organizational capacity. As I conclude, BNPC's performance over the reporting period reflects an organization that has continued to deliver to its mandate despite operating under significant structural and institutional constraints. While measurable progress has been achieved across key areas including productivity improvement, policy development, stakeholder engagement, and financial discipline, overall performance has been constrained by governance gaps. funding limitations, as well as capacity challenges. The absence of a fully constituted board, prolonged measure-related uncertainty, and limited coordination authority have adversely impacted decision-making, leadership stability, and organizational effectiveness. These constraints highlight the need for strengthened governance structures, enhanced institutional capacity, and improved policy implementation frameworks. Addressing these challenges will be critical to restoring organizational stability, improving performance, and enabling the Center to fully realize its role as a key driver of productivity and competitiveness in Botswana. I feel compelled to talk about the productivity landscape. Productivity and competitiveness statistics for Botswana have been on a downward trend over the last 5 years, largely driven by human factors and economic environment. Private sector-led growth will have to be driven by efficiencies, quality, excellence in order for Botswana companies to be competitive abroad. Productivity is ever more important than ever. BNPC is only a catalyst. Only a catalyst. Productivity is a collective responsibility for Botswana. First of all, there must be policy coherence. As I mentioned, the shareholder compact for the period has been submitted to yourself, and detailed results are contained within its evaluation. My role in the last 6 months has been to stabilize the organization, reform the culture, improve the morale, and also improve the quality of leadership. We believe over this period of the last 8 months, when we've had an accounting officer, we have laid the foundation to improve the prospects of the organization so that when the measure eventually happens, when it happens, a robust organization on the ground is delivering to national needs. Thank you, Chair.
Hey, thank you so much. And ke nako ya batlotle gore re botse dipotso.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Masitiro, for that presentation. My questions, I only have got 2 questions. And my first question will be, when you're giving the presentation, just when we were just about to complete, you said BNPC is a catalyst. Now, I want to know the BNPC Act mandate. I mean, the BNPC mandates you to promote productivity across government institutions. To what extent have you achieved this mandate? Please demonstrate the impact. Just want you to demonstrate the impact as to how you do your things. The next question, Honorable Chair, that I've got is, has the Center implemented the National Productivity and Competitiveness Policy? If not, when will it be implemented? What does this policy seek to achieve once implemented? Honorable Chair, I'll just give out this 2, then I'll make a follow-up. I've got 2, 3 more questions to give, so I'll just come up with them on the second round. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
The first round, the Berbanela Baraba. Honorable Kwapa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Masitiro, for the wonderful presentation. However, it goes without saying that I have to also throw in some questions. According to the records, BNPC tabled the last report in 2024 for the year 2023. Further, the audited financial statements for 2023-24, 24-25 are missing. When will the above be completed and tabled to Parliament? The other question is, how does management justify operating without audited financial statements for the years mentioned above, given that these are statutory and governance requirements? Given the current country's financial situation, how does the centre plan to achieve financial stability, sustainability? And again, from your report, you stated that there is a high vacancy rate, which stands at 69% for managerial level and 35% non-managerial level. My question is, so for all these years, why have you not been appointing? And the other one, in accordance with Section 9, subsection 1 of Botswana National Productivity Center Act, it states categorically I would say CEO ka tsela e ntseng jang. Potso me ke re wena wa appointile jang. Le gone gore ha ke tswelela, maybe the last one would be that Canada public concerns regarding your non-visibility. So given this financial constraints and your core mandate, ya gone e leng gore to drive productivity and competitiveness across all sectors of the economy. Could you mention earlier this other one? So keep put on warle khona jang. Ke utlwa sentela and I appreciate gore you also charge for your services even though it is not in your mandate. Who has given you the powers to charge for your services? And yes, and I also understand your role is to realize your goal, and that that BNPC is the only catalyst to do that. So then as to why then I'm asking those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me thank the accounting officer for the presentation. Mine, I think, will focus more on corporate governance. I just want to know what is the current status regarding appointment of the board of directors and executive directors. When you were doing the presentation, you mentioned the strategy in your organization. And then the question would be, how has the absence of the board affected the strategic decision making in the center? Thirdly, how far are you with the implementation of BNPC merger with BPSC and IDM? Can you share the strategy for this merger? The other question will be, can you assure this committee that you are still running as per the BNPC Act? The other question will be, what is the vacancy rate at BNPC currently? You also mentioned, in your presentation, you also mentioned employees, which drew an attention to me that when was the last time you awarded your employees a cost of living adjustment? That's what I wanted to know. The other thing, it's like BNPC is battling with legal issues. One would want to know how much did you spend on legal costs at BNPC in the last 5 years, if at all you spent the money. What were the costs for? Were you defending employees or the center? And then, do you have, I would like to know that, do you have a training plan? If not, why? And the last one will be, what was your subvention amount in the last 2 financial years? How much was that? How much of that was the recurrent and development budget? I think that is my questions for now, and I will come with the follow-up later, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair. My question is going to be on the recommendations of BAO. What BAO recommendations remain outstanding, and what is the center doing about it to implement them? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. But it's somewhat in addition to the questions that are Honorable Kwapa, but specifically talking about the audit and the audit recommendations. The financial subject is 31st March 2023, but of course I have the report here. So there are recommendations. I just wanted to find out the status, the implementations that's on, and what mechanisms in terms of accountability. Have they been? Do you have the timelines set for implementation those recommendations? The financial, how far are you with the audits of the financials? Yes, the delay 24 and 25, and what really causes the delay in having the financials be submitted timely? Audit financial they have submitted timely. Thank you.
I think Ngalenela no Lydia Arabi.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, honorable members. I will start with the first questions, Zaha Honorable Frenzel, asking about the achievement of the mandate. Since the BNPC was set up in 1995-93, safe to say the Act has 12 objects, and we have assessed implementation of the objects of the Act in terms of which areas have we implemented and which areas are we lagging. Out of the 12 objects of the Act, we have implemented 8.5, giving us a percentage of 70%. This is over the lifetime of BNPC. Sometimes the challenge of productivity depends on positioning and on funding. The lack of a policy over the last 25 or so years to direct implementation has caused a lot of challenges. There are other key areas that have caused our dissipated impact. The Act says that we should implement productivity improvement in all sectors of the economy. With 58 people, it's not possible to be in all sectors of the economy. So what we try and do in our strategy is that we support government priorities. So if the sectors of the economy that are important for a cycle of government is manufacturing, tourism, or agriculture, we support those. But even then, I believe that we can have better laser focus so that we can have demonstrated impact. If you shoot at everything, you will miss quite a lot. But if you focus your target, you will hit the target. The other issue is our business model. It needs to be reviewed, and also our funding model, because advocacy is also a very expensive business. And with our limited funding, we're not able to get to all the areas that we need to be. The other question was about the policy that was approved in 2024. Yes, the policy was approved, the strategy as well, but the funding has not been availed yet. So the policy is still at the ministry and will be submitted to BNPC. I am aware that the ministry is discussing with development partners how this policy will be funded. Just this week, they were in negotiations with the African Development Bank and have been talking to others as well. Safe to say, within the policy, we have already undertaken research, productivity research into the agricultural sector. This year, we will be looking at the National Value System so that it can inform our mindset development program. I know we are all aware that Botswana has an issue with work ethic and mindsets, so that program will inform that. And we will also be looking at research into the tourism sector. So the policy has not yet been implemented. Funding is still being sourced at our parent Ministry of Labour and Home Affairs. Honourable Kwapa, you asked about tabling of annual reports. Our last annual report, yes, indeed, was tabled in 2024. This is because, according to our Act, the annual report is supposed to be approved, including the financials, by a properly curated board and then submitted. In the absence of that board, they remain just drafts. So we have not been able to submit to the Auditor General because there is no oversight, because the financials are submitted by the directors, not the management. So we await the appointment of a board so that they can forward them to the relevant authorities. Audited financials is the same story. Without a properly constituted board, we cannot submit them. They remain a draft until a board is in place. Vacancies. Say, Honorable, you asked why we have so many vacancies. It's 69% at management level and 32% across the organization. That is untenable. Unfortunately, we do not have the funding for those positions, and for the management positions, they are a remit of the board. Management can only be recruited or terminated by a board. And without a board, almost CEO appointment, Honorable Sidombo, I think. The Act empowers the Minister of Labour and Home Affairs to appoint a CEO. And I have not been appointed as a substantive CEO. It is in the acting capacity until the organization or the ministry and other relevant authorities decide on the measure. So I believe it is a transition process. Non-visibility of BNPC, it pains us. It pains us that we cannot be where we need to be. We know productivity is part of building up people. It's a culture thing. You need to catch them young. We know we need to be in the schools. We need to be preaching the message. We need to be partnering with associations. We need to be partnering with the unions. We know we need to be out there, but we cannot afford to. So we limit ourselves where we can to mostly using technology. We're in all social media platforms. We also host online discussions. We really try to be where we can. Yes, we do charge for our services. We charge for our services because our subvention cannot sustain us because of structural issues. So that is why we charge for our services, and it is provided for in the Act. Honorable Furniture, you asked about the status of governance. This is another painful area. As a student of public administration myself and a student of governance of statutory enterprises, it is very difficult for me to operate in an environment without a board, but we find ourselves in that situation. Not only do we not have a board, until last month we did not have an internal audit manager because we cannot recruit at management level. The strategy was approved by the board that was sitting at the time. It concluded this year in March. We have finished reviewing it, and we have finished reviewing the shareholder compact and submitted that to yourselves. How far with the measure? That's a very difficult question. The measure has been going on for around 3 years and has not concluded. It is a negotiation between the executives at the Ministry of Labour and Home Affairs and Office of the President, as the Public Service College is hosted in a different ministry. I'm informed that a decision will be made soon. However, it has not yet been communicated to us, so I'm not in a position to update where we are with the measure. It is an issue for the ministry. Are we still running as per the Act? Yes, we are. There are certain areas that we focus on in the Act. In the current strategic cycle, we've been focusing on productivity in the agricultural sector. We've been going around the country talking to associations, Tsabalimi le Barui. We have been talking to, we have also been focusing on tourism, and we have also been focusing on the manufacturing sector. We've always believed that Botswana has a limited market, and we have to empower local companies to be able to stabilize their operations, scale and grow, and then export. So we've been working with Botswana Exporters and Manufacturers Association, trying to support also layer companies, and also working with the UNDP Supply Development Program to improve productivity so that these companies can stabilize and grow. I know a lot of the time people see BNPC as a training institution because that's how we started, and we have facilities for training. But I'm sure you will agree with me that you cannot just improve productivity in the classroom. You need to be at the sector, you need to be at the companies, improving productivity at that level. And when you do that work, you will not be visible. Those companies will grow, the bottom line will improve, but you will not be visible in the social media space showing Botswana or maybe advocating. You can only show with the results in the companies. So that's what we have been doing. Vacancy rate, I've already indicated that at management is 69%, and within the company it is at 32%. Honorable Khari, you asked about audited financials. I believe that I have indicated that we have them in draft form and they can only be approved by the board. I will ask my colleagues to answer the issues regarding the collar and the subvention.
Thank you. On the cost of living adjustment, a 5% adjustment was implemented in 2024-2025. About the subvention over the two periods, 2023-24 and 24-25, the center received 58,351,000. All this was a recurrent budget. We last received our development fund in 2020. That's as far as I can go with the. And then you asked about the legal costs. Yeah. Over the last 2 years, we spent about 172,000 on the legal expenses. I'll give Matlo to explain maybe on the legal matters. They had asked about the legal matters.
We have had about 3 issues relating to legal matters, and we have provided the report. And it has been our employees dissatisfied with the manner they parted with the organization. Some of them have been concluded and some are ongoing. But as she mentioned, it has over the entire 5-year period, is under 200,000.
2 years. Over 2 years.
Over the 2 years. I will ask my other colleague to talk to our findings.
Yeah. Chube Mike.
Thank you, Chairman. As she's still preparing herself, I can talk to a few, just in general, that most of the BAWA recommendations were on the board that are outstanding. They are talking to the risk management assessment of the board, the performance reviews for the board and so forth. Most of them were really on the board. The other one was referring to the internal audit function quality assessment, which was done by an external source was appointed, external professional was appointed to do that. That was the one in 2021, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mpimeti. The BAWA findings are available on page 8 of 12 of the internal audit report. And as she indicated, the findings that are still to be closed are those requiring action of an AFRIC or a properly constituted board. My colleague can also talk to PPRA findings.
On PPRA findings, or maybe if you allow me, Chair. If you allow me, just
You're
to
allowed.
give... I'm allowed, thank you. Just to give a brief background of the PPRA audit. The audit in question was conducted during the early implementation phase of the public procurement regulatory authority framework, following the introduction of the new PPRA Act. At the time, BNPC had historically been operating under its own internal procurement policy framework prior to the enactment of the legislation. As a result of the transition to the PPRA framework, it required significant alignment to the new compliance requirements and governance structures, some of which were not previously part of the center's operating model. And some of the requirements has also had financial and capacity implications, requiring additional resourcing and training. It is therefore important to indicate that many of the 24 non-compliance findings arose during the transition and institutional adjustment period, as the center was working to align itself to the new legislative framework. I'm however pleased to inform this House that substantial progress has been made, and most of the audit findings have been addressed and closed. The center has also greatly benefited from the use of the procurement oversight from our ministry, as we've had continuous guidance and on-the-job training on the PPRA Act. So I'll now go to the 7 remaining PPRA findings, which most of them, as we stand today, have been closed. The only outstanding one is the service level agreement, which is still on the table between the ministry and the center. We still are relying on the ministry's oversight. As my colleague has already mentioned, due to financial constraints, we find ourselves not able to capacitate most of this regulatory requirements, especially the PPRA one, which came up with new structures. And also due to the impending measure, where we have had to halt recruiting some of the position and rely on the ministry's oversight. And like I mentioned, relying on the ministry's oversight has actually really helped us in terms of training on the PPRA Act. I think I've covered almost all.
There was a question that was asking, without money and requiring to operate and in the financial constraints, how do you manage? In the last 3 years, we have relied a lot on strategic partnerships. We've realized that there is a lot of opportunity for collaboration in Botswana, particularly of government departments. You will find that, let's say, Leah is working with 5 SMEs to help them start. And then BNPC is helping the organization stabilize and grow. And then another government agency is helping them with market access. We have found it very useful to get these 3 agencies together and operate together, and even sometimes travel and share resources together. They may not always be able to pay, but they might be able to barter in a different area. So I think there's a lot of scope in government for collaboration of state enterprises, including with government agencies and development partners. So that's how we have been able to survive. Our strategy has been strategic partnerships. I believe we have covered the questions that the honorable members asked.
For the follow-up.
Yes.
There are some new questions.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair. When you were answering me, Ms. Tsiro, you said 8 out of the 12 objects have been implemented. My question is, which ones are those that are left behind, and why were they not implemented? The question that I've got again is, is in relation to the merger in the 2 institutions, the BPSC and IDM. I want to know, I want you to explain what will be the decision regarding existing students at those 2 institutions that you want to measure. And will those organizations continue enrolling new students during the period of measuring, of measuring those 2 institutions? And how will this measure affect the lecturers? We've got lecturers there. And how about the contracts and the working conditions? I know very well we've got a lot of lecturers, and where will they go after merging those 2 institutions? I just want to know about that. Mama Chwala was here some time back, but I didn't get her properly as to what will happen to the lecturers. I remember she said they will go to other institutions that are there. Which institutions are they? I met them there in Francistown at IDM. They are clueless as to where they will be going after this merging. Now, the last question, Honorable Chair, when you were doing your introduction, ma'am, you said you have been in this institution since mid-August, and that means you have been acting for all these months. So I want to know, is that lawful to be acting for all those 8 months that you've been acting? Those are my questions, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I do follow-up questions? From the answers that were given, you were saying that the last government subvention was to the tune of 58 million. Now, looking at maybe the number of employees or staff that we have at the moment, which is 53, do you want to tell me that looking at the period of COVID, were you not able to make some savings, considering the fact that there were less movements and the operation lady business in general? during the period of COVID, ga gona di change di pela tse di setseng mo go 58 million. Kore ke ra gore if at all maybe one officer o ka ba go ruta maybe at a certain institution, a batla ntharo o ka dirisa more than $1 million hela mo ngwageng, kana gongwe 58 million. What happened hela sentle ka this 58 million? Ke be ke boela go kganyeng ya ene le bua le re le nnile le financial constraint as to maybe the reasons le sa kgona go hira. Potso ame ke gore le na le lebaka le kae le na le di-vacancy tsone before your appointment? Because when I go listen to Rwari, you've been appointed immediately after body and everything, it's amaya. Ke ne ke go boditse potso kgante le gore wena wa appointilwe jane ke go botsa ka bomo, but ke batla ke tlhaloganye gore from section 10 of the BNPC Act, it tlhalosa sentle ka botlalo gore the staff that has to be employed, it has to be through the recommendation of the board. So yana ke batla gore ke tlhaloganye sentle gore gompieno ke utlwa sentle gore you do not have that board. Ke batla go itse gore go le kganya the financial constraints e no bua ka ne ke dumelang gore le ka tswa le nna some savings from era ya COVID. A le batla go ntha le re ga gona o pehela o leng gore nela bona gongwe ka gore nako ya teng ke dumela gore body ne santse le teng. A ga gona ba pehela kana body ga ya ka ya lona ka gore because section 10 e bua sentle gore the director has to make some recommendations to the board. Ke batla go tlhaloganya gore a ne go sena di recommendation di pehela tse ne ke le tsa diro immediately after about COVID, kana jeso ke morena hela. Ke a leboga.
Thank you. Chair, may I ask the honourable member to restate the question?
Oh,
the last part of the question.
Yeah, Nekiri, section 10 of the BNPC Act stipulates gore tshwanetse go dira galeng gore batho ba hirwe. E bua sentle gore go tshwanetse go nne le the recommendation which has to be sent to the board by the director. So potso ya me ke gore ke tlhaloganya sentle gore ona wa re wa appointilwe ka August 2024. Yes, 2025. But body yone ne setse sa bolo go tsamaya ka 2024 ke re the tenure ya yone. Ke dumela as we are speaking right now, there is no board, there is no director. But potso ya me ne re ke itha ke re go ka tswa gone gona le some savings post COVID era. Yaanong potso ya me ne re a le batla go ntha go le re from nako yone eo ga gona di recommendation dingwe tse le gore maybe gongwe ka be re di appenda mo go gompieno tse di amang go hirwa ga bodiredi. Ha ke tsore a ya utlwela sentle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think mine is your board, the absence of the board. Let us do justice to this issue, because I think most of your issues and challenges, they emanate from not having the board. So now I just want to understand that the matter is seized with the minister or the ministry who appoint a body, kana bothata king hore body hongwe e ka nna teng, so that most of your challenges di ka khona gore di addressiwe. Kana bothata ke the financial part ga lena madi ya gore ka duela the board members, kana bothata e ka tswa ileng ha ile gore ngwe bothata ke the minister, le re bolelle so that we can engage the minister gore a dire sa tshwanetse re a se dire, because that is the most important part. Engwe I think ene le sa ya raba ke ya training, gore do you have a training plan at BNPC? If not, why? Listen, the training plan. So I think those are my follow-up questions for now.
Honorable Khare.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether to be a comment or a question, but somehow related to what Reverend has just said. I think now I want to sympathize, Mr. Chair, with the accounting officer and her team. Because, you know, we don't get a lot of responses to the positive development, but you can't blame them. One, if you look at the fact that there's a measure pending, the issue of the board and the higher vacancy rate, could all these things that are beyond our control. I think much as we need to find out another committee what then we do in terms of calling the relevant people to come and respond. Otherwise, we're going to be asking the same questions. Because if you look at the audited financials, you can't get them because there's no board. If you look ask them about the vacancy rate, you can't do anything about it because the measure is pending. There's a pending measure. So now my comment would be a lot of questions detained, but I'm a bit constrained. I can keep on asking because if you some of these things are actually beyond the behavior as the management.
How will you answer? Wait.
Thank you, Chair. I will start with the last one regarding, well, maybe not the last, from Honorable Sidom. Why are we not hiring? Can I hear in Kistan? Why are we not hiring? The measure was supposed to be concluded in June 2024. So the board, in its wisdom at the time, decided that there is going to be an employment freeze. Everybody's contract that ends will not be renewed, particularly at management level. And for other staff, those that can be renewed for by the accounting officer, the maximum term of renewal is 1 year. So we have a lot of people who are on 1 year contracts, which is causing a lot of instability. And some of them can't even get loans from the bank. But there's nothing that we can do about it. It's a board decision. As the management, we cannot override board decisions. I cannot hire at management level because according to the Act and the Conditions of Service, only the board can renew contracts of management, discipline management, or hire managers. So that is why we have a high vacancy rate. And we have not had some of these positions funded for quite some time. Because I think, as you understand, in government, if you cannot use a vacancy for a number of years, you are saying you don't need it, so it is not funded. Unfortunately for us, it was first the restructuring and then the measure, which means for the last 10 years, we've been in a period of instability. That is the environment in which we operate. Regarding the executive director, the board, before their departure in 2024, made recommendations to the ministry on who could be appointed. And the minister appointed in mid-August 2025. So the process specified in the Act was followed. For the BNPC Act, it is the minister who makes the appointment on the recommendation of the board. I know that for some other parastatals, it is the decision of the board to hire. But in this case, the proper process was followed by the minister. Regarding when the board is coming, I know the ministry is seized with the matter, and we have had conversations around when the board will be appointed. But as you appreciate, it is a matter beyond our control. It is for the appointing authority. And I appreciate that the appointing authority is not just the minister. There are other levels above the minister where board decisions are made. We, however, await Katulofero because a lot of the issues that are pending at BNPC are as a result of the absence of the board. If you look at all our audit findings, if you look at all our staff issues that are pending, they require the decision of the board. We have a lot of policies that are pending at the moment, including cybersecurity policies, they require a board. Including board charters, they require a board. Financials, draft financials, they require a board. I understand that the ministry is seized with this, and it must be very difficult because on the one hand, you have a measure which is pending, and on the other, there's an operations that of an organization that needs to function. So they have to balance the two. I'm not sure, I'm speculating at this point. But at the end of the day, even if a measure is implemented, it cannot be implemented without a board because decisions around rationalization of staff, Section 25, and all others that are required in a measure require the board. I was asked about the trainers, the Public Service College, IDM. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to say what will happen to their jobs or whether they can continue recruiting or not. I can only speak for BNPC. And as I mentioned, BNPC is not a training institution. We've got productivity advisors, consultants, and researchers. Sometimes they train, but they're not primarily there for training. So there's work for them to do in the sectors that we work in, with the firms that we work with. Research continues, we continue to function. So we do not have a problem with what will happen to staff because whatever entity will emerge will require these staff to fulfill the mandate if the mandate does not change. I will let my finance manager answer the rest of the financial questions.
I think on the financial questions, I only remember one year, the 58 million. The 58 million, as I mentioned, was for the period 23-24 and 24-25. When you look on page 5 of the pack, there's a summary of the financial performance of the centre over 5 years. You would note that since 2021, the centre has been operating under a deficit. So ever since COVID, as you mentioned, there has never been savings. Instead, we have been operating under a deficit. But I'm happy to inform this House that our deficit we are slowly getting out of the black hole. As you can see, as 2024, 2025, our deficit has gone down to 1.3 million. I don't know if there was any other training plan.
Honorable Furniture asked about the training plan. We do conduct performance appraisals every year. We do have an annual performance plan in place based on the strategy every year. So this is the basis for the decisions that we make regarding staffing. We do develop areas for development within our performance management system. We have a training plan, but it's rather constrained to legally required programs such as accreditation of our finance and internal audit staff. So we do have a limited training plan. Most of the capacity development at the center is paid for by the staff themselves. And then if it is approved, you can claim from the organization. So we don't have a large pool of money for capacity building, which is unfortunate because the area that we work in is a fast-moving area. If you look at technology right now, it's the biggest driver of productivity and competitiveness gains, but we're unable to up the skills of our employees because we cannot afford it. But some of them do pay for those programs and then claim from the organization. Is it lawful to act for 8 months, Honorable? Yes, it is. How long have the vacancies been going on? The vacancies have been happening over the last 5 years. So it has been accumulation. We have submitted to yourselves within the report the chart that shows how many have been coming through. So it's mostly through retirements and end of contract. So it's not new. It has been going on, given that at one point it was a transformation and then it was a merger and so on and so forth. So it's been over the last 5 years. Then Honorable Frenzel asked about which areas of the Act have not been implemented. And I'm talking about the life of the organization here. The area that has not particularly been worked on as we should have, it's in the areas of supporting labor unions in preparation for wage negotiations. by undertaking wage studies and being able to advise the unions on how they can negotiate for increments based on productivity gains by labor. Because as you will appreciate, productivity is multifaceted. There'll be labor productivity, there'll be capital productivity. So you can't say that I require an increment because the economy is going well. You have to prove your component, how you supported the improvement in the economy or in the company's performance. So our role is to undertake wage studies and support labor unions to be able to effectively negotiate. That is an area that we have not particularly focused on in the last 30 or so years. The other area is in gain sharing. Gain sharing hela ka Setswana ke mafisa. Ka Setswana ha ke go hirile, maybe, I don't know how other people do it. Ko morakeng wa me ha ke go hirile ke be ke go raya ke re ga di ka tsala di le 20 e le 1 ke a gago. That is sharing the spoils of productivity. It's a very simple concept ya Setswana. But in the workplace, we have not been doing it. So what we're supposed to be doing as an organization is teaching the country how to share the spoils, but also how to share the losses. If we're not doing well, if we're doing well, so those are the areas that have largely been left not so implemented in the last 15 or so years. But as I said, the objects of the Act are 12, and you cannot implement all of them at the same time. It depends on where the economy is and at what it requires at that time. So now as we move into the next strategic cycle, if I'm still at the helm, those are the areas that we need to be focusing on because of where the economy is at the moment. It's time for efficiencies. Maybe in the past there was plenty, but now it's about how do we use what we have to gain as an economy, as a firm, and as people. How do we teach as many young people as we can about what productivity is and how to use it for behavior change in the workplace? If I can just say this, I've heard before people say, BNPC, where are you now? Yes, Neru at that time, because the first 10 years of BNPC's existence was about advocacy. It was about teaching Botswana for productivity. We improved productivity awareness from 18% to 89%. Botswana ba khona go bua sekgwa sa productivity ba khona go tshoma ka sone. Me in the workplace, productivity was going down. So we were becoming very eloquent in speaking about productivity, but not improving results, as you can see in the implementation of the national development plans, which is why we decided to change from just advocacy to now going to the workplace and the sectors, drawing policies, and partnering the industry to improve productivity, not just productivity, but to actually do productivity. That is the change that we made. So sometimes when we talk about whether we should have stopped advocating at the time and only went to the companies and the sectors, in hindsight, we should have continued both because now there's a new generation of employees within our sector which needs that awareness because they're also not aware about productivity. But as you can imagine, mindset and behavior change in Botswana is very difficult.
Yeah. I just want to know how many employees do you have currently as BNPC? What is the staff complement of BNPC as a whole? And lastly, since you don't have a board of directors, board secretary, and internal audit manager, who provides oversight?
Yeah.
No, I'm okay for
Presidombo. Kisuna gaya no go na bohelo. Ka go na bohelo. Botswana.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Like Honorable Khare was saying, without the board, we can't go anywhere. Now my concern was in measuring this these institutions, so let's about BPSC, IDM, yeah. I just wanted to know about the lecturers, that we can't go anywhere. I think we need the minister to come and answer on this. Len Mama Chwala failed to answer when we asked him about these things as to where the lecturers will be going, because there are no vacancies in these institutions that are there. So where will the lecturers be going? But anyway, we'll leave it for the minister and the board to see what is going to happen. But what I know is there's a saying in Szechuan, no, I think, is it in Szechuan or what, that says, if it's not broken, why break it? Hey, why fix it? Hey, if it's not broken, that's the thing. Why fix it if it's not broken? That's the thing. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khan and Honorable Frenzel. Honorable Frenzel, once again, BNPC does not have lecturers. We are not trainers. We don't teach. IDM has lecturers and the Public Service College has lecturers. And we don't all report to the same minister. So I don't know if I'm protecting my minister now, but the lecturers at the Public Service College will be under Mema Chol. But once again, though, she is the chair of the IDM. So maybe Ministry or State Presidency is in a better position to answer what will happen to those staff. Rona, in the past, we have received Section 25 letters regarding the merger. But however, they have since expired. So nothing is in place. I'm not able to say where we are with the merger. When it comes to staff complement, Honorable Furniture, the approved establishment is 88, but we are currently 53, which is imposing very high constraints on our capacity to implement the mandate fully. But it is what it is. We do what we can. The morale was low, but I have to say that we have decided, and I can say that if we were to measure the levels of engagement now and staff satisfaction, they will be much higher than they were. We understand the economic situation. We understand that we came to work with a purpose and we have to do the work. We have improved communication. We are working on improving the culture and the quality of the leadership while we await final decision about the institution. So, we do what we can with what we have. I have a team of young people that are not here, that are quite motivated and eager to learn, and very good interns as well. So, all is not lost. And you can see from the results of our shareholder compact.
Young people
the young people are watching online at work. Hey, but I felt that the most important thing for me today to communicate, once again, is that BNPC is not a training institution. I know that it is the perception of many people out there. That is only one object of the Act, that we are supposed to have management and supervisory studies to improve the standard of management in Botswana. And we do have a facility that provides that. We do have a training plan. We train in management development, supervision, customer service, industrial relations. We do that. But we understand it is not enough. We have to go to the workplace and come up with improvement plans that will improve efficiencies and profit in the workplace. We work with JICA and the Japanese government to go to the manufacturing entity, look at as how it is set up, look at the costs of sales, look at the operations, and improve productivity in the workplace, working with those that we have taught or not taught. So I just wanted to dispel that BNPC is a training institution. It is not. We are supposed to be operating at the firm level, at the sector level, and at the national level. The institution is the key advisor to government on productivity and competitiveness. That is the level that we should be operating at. And hopefully when the policy is implemented, those gains will be realized because it was developed exactly to do that. provide coordination and high-level and mid-level support.
Ya me ka re ra leboga.
Ga araba engwe, Chair, who provides the
Ya wa
oversight?
ya ra.
Yeah, oversight. It's a very difficult question, Chair. We have not had an internal audit manager for a couple of years. However, we have decided, since we cannot hire an internal audit manager because they're hired by the board, we will use the outsourcing method. Because procurement we can undertake with the oversight of the ministry. Our procurement oversight is at the ministry. So we have partnered with a local company on an outsourced basis to provide audit management services. And since that avenue is available to us, that might be the route we take with other areas. We do not have a legal advisor and we do not have a board secretary. All these documents that we have, it is because our board secretary was meticulous. Her contract ended in February. I could not renew it because it can only be renewed by a board. So those are the challenges of not having proper governance and oversight in place. But we appreciate it for what it is and work with what we have. Thank you.
Kya o bona gore go na le crisis ko go lona. I mean ba golwane ba ha go dimo ga lona ba itse ka sone seemo se.
I believe that what is happening at the center is not unique. It is happening in other institutions as well. We do have a lot of vacancies at the board level and vacancies at SOE level. I've been watching your proceedings and seeing the same story play out.
Ya kra lona ya la kra gore a ba ba go dimo ga lona ba itse ka no sone seemo se sa lona se gore kra dithuso mo di apara because of gore a dikilela ba ngwala ba engage la uto gore ba re kana le tsetsela gore ba itse.
Our supervisors are aware. Because we don't have a board, we report to the ministry directly. So on a quarterly basis, we submit our reports and we share our challenges. I think it's a difficult situation because they have to balance an institution that is about to merge and also resolve the issues that are ongoing with maybe long-term or short-term. My understanding is that they're in the process of appointing a board because they recognize the governing challenges. But as I say, I'm not the appointing authority, but they are aware. One of the reasons why I was appointed is because they realized that even operationally, some decisions could not be made without an accounting officer. So I was appointed to bridge that gap. Now they're in the process of appointing a board. Besides that, there's nothing else I can say, but they are aware, and we do work very well with them. We share resources where we can, and where we have funding gaps, they also close those gaps. Where we have technical gaps, they also support us.
Okay, thank you. No ta go gana se we no mpisa le ke botsa ke phrase gare ya gore ke mo le tseposo ya me ra le boga. Let me thank BNPC for your submissions. Ta sala re nguna gore no gore we forward ke le rona re bone seemo. At this point ke ta kopa honorable gare gore a le leboge on our behalf.
I thought Mr. Chairman, but thank you very much. I think Rabuil, first and foremost, your submissions and your responses to our questions. We appreciate your challenges. It's our Chairman will review what's the way forward. Our job is just to appreciate what is happening so that we can actually cause accountability to SOEC. Thank you very much, Tolan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Barkilla le sete a go ke na sa bi gore nya mi te
Yes.
ora re ta ka ting le re boa gape rona ka 11 re na le Nardi. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and honorable members.
Morning and welcome to the Standing Committee on Statutory Bodies and State Enterprises. Ra leboga go nna teng ga lona. Ke bidiwa Arafat Kitso-Khan, ke mo Palamente wa Molepolle Bokoni, mme ebile ke modulasetilo wa komiti e. Anong ke tle go tsaya sebaka se go neela ba ke nna le bone mo komiting go itshupa kana go ipolela gore ke bomang le itse gore le bua le bomang.
Ke a leboga modulasetilo. Ke bidiwa go twe Tlhabologo Furniture. Ke leloko la komiti yone. Ke palamenta ko Tati o Botlhaba. Ke a leboga.
Dumela Chair. Ke bidiwa go te Gaefeles Dombo. Ke mo Palamente wa Tonota. Ke leloko la komiti.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Umpemetsi Kwapa. I'm a member of Parliament for Johnny Mabutsani and also a member of this committee. Thank you.
I'm Jeremiah Frenzel, Member of Parliament for Shasha West. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, all. Kibidua Karabakari, Member of Parliament Mushupamayana, Member of the committee.
Dumelang, Kibidua Gabriel Malebang, the Clerk of the National Assembly and the First Secretary for the committee.
Good day, Kibidua Hamangu Libele. I'm the technical advisor to the committee.
Dumelang bagaetsho, ke bidiwa Ame Masuku, I'm Parliamentary Counsel.
Good morning, my name is Senora Usikielwi from the Office of the Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. Kibidwa Samuel Diane from the Office of Accountant General.
Good morning. My name is Tapapiwa Muzumi from the Office of the Attorney General.
Dumelang baeng ba rona. Leina la me ke Chris Mfila, Director, Parliamentary Services. Ke le mokwaledi wa bobedi wa komiti.
I now invite Nadi, NAVTEC representative, gore ba itshupe re bolela gore ke bomang pele ga re ba tseisa oath. Kana o ka emela o ba o re bolela o ba supa bo thela gore o na le bomang le bomang.
Okay. Ke just a quick clarification hore our Director of Finance on I hate after 7 years. So remukupile hore atle ka hore he prepared all this. Hore hela re net transparent. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, o bolela gore o mang e bo bolela gore o na le bomang ha re hetsa be ngore ka tsaba ba pele ba
okay
re ba tseisa oath mme a ka re go ntse go tsweletse mongwe a batla go thusa le nne re to go mo kopa gore a direla yalo
ke
ba ba tshela ntse ba supela ntse
Leina la me ke Julius Atlope. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at NADI. And to my immediate left, Renale Metzetsegabobofane. She is the Acting Finance, Director of Finance. And just next to him is the gentleman I talked about who's been serving for the past 7 years, Mohorona, and therefore Kenatabaha in detail. He prepared this report before at Mohorona end of this past month. Renale Internal Auditor. Nzima Poli. Okay, thank you. Nzima Poli. And then Renale Re Philip Kakile, who is our internal auditor. And then on the back line, Renale Deputy CEO, Technology Transfer and Commercialization, Dr. Martin Kebakile. Reverend Nahle Ruben Isaacs, who is the acting manager of transformation, strategy and transformation. Reverend Nale Me Nosa Mohutsiwa. Me Mohutsiwa ke ene director ya rona ya HR. Reverend Nale, another deputy CEO, Dr. Charity Kruger. She's for research and development. Thank you very much.
There's one more.
Yeah, Baba Muhasewa Meche.